hello, hello, hello. Yes, I just can't get enough for MozCon 2. It's sad that I'm like the second last talk. I know that we are all super tired, and yes, I'm talking about SEO audits, unfortunately. I know SEO audit is like that type of task that we all need to do, right? It's at the core of our SEO processes. I bet that many of us love to do it. I know that I am. But all of a sudden, we are really getting into these challenges with SEO audits, right? Like less buy-in, resources, and support to execute, higher implementation constraints, great difficulty predicting results too is challenging, and it's not only you. I mean, don't feel bad if that is what you feel. I actually did this not super 100% scientific analysis survey, the SEO FOMO, SEO auditing survey. And yes, most SEOs have a hard time getting their audits executed, which is what we all want at the end of the day. Unfortunately, only 20% get the recommendations implemented 90% of the time. So, I mean, I know that I'm second to last, and we are going to have a party later on. So this is like, just like, yes, get all feel bad together type of moment before finishing, right? So yeah. And then, as a consequence, because it's so hard to get stuff implemented, we have this other harsh reality. Only 17% of SEOs said that they achieve goals more than 90% of the time. And literally, this is what we are paid for, right? So it's like not really good looking on us, I'm afraid. So yes, this is where we are. Audits, even if we connect a lot of the auditing process to analysis, research, validation, detections of issues and opportunities, very quickly becomes an execution challenge, an execution problems to make things happen, to achieve what we want, the outcome of our goals and our work at the end of the day. So today, I want to go through 7 ideas, 7 actions, 7 possibilities for you to start integrating in your SEO auditing process to change our current challenges, to achieve results, to achieve those goals, and to make our bosses and clients happy at the end of the day. Let's start with the first one. Do a radical SEO audit prioritization with a high-impact, solution-focused 10-action plan maximum, leveraging storytelling. And this is where we all know that we already prioritize SEO recommendations, right, based on the effort and the opportunity. In one way or another, we're already doing that, right? I share a framework, a template, a reach, share another one, like there are many fantastic ones out there. Unfortunately, this is clearly not enough because, again, when I ask around, and we all know that this is sadly true, despite already prioritizing a lot of recommendations, at the end of the day, this is not working. It's not enough, right? Like, we get canned results. We want Barbie ones, right? We face buy-in resources and support issues for execution. And I believe that the main issue, and like it's easy to visualize, right? We shouldn't be surprised if this is what we send to developers, right? Yes, it's just prioritized, it's well explained, the scoop is there, the page, but what happens when we add also the content elements, the content areas, the content activities? Like, who has the time for this? Even if prioritized, who has the time even to go through it? I know that many decision makers, they don't read it, stakeholders, they don't either, so yeah. The problem is the scoop, right? Even if we prioritize, we tend to include, we try to, right, to include everything that matters because, of course, we think this is what we have been paid for. We need to show that we have done a comprehensive analysis, that we have identified all opportunities, but in reality, we are like shooting ourselves in the foot, and no, we should do a radical prioritization to only include 10 high-impact, solutions-driven action plan of what will achieve those goals that we have set for the current iteration, not the next one, the current one. The ones that will make things happen from a business standpoint, the one that will generate ROI, the one that will get our bosses to say, aha, you get a raise. Yeah, this is the type of stuff that we need to include and eliminate the rest. That they are not paying us to send issues, they are paying us for solutions and make things happen, right? So our recommendations will go from all of that, like so many pages, like including everything, prioritization, but including everything, to very specific actions that will be much easier to go through and implement. And once that we have this very specific top 10 maximum action plan, we should leverage storytelling to explain what happened, why did it happen, and how to proceed. Clearly, specific, actionable, even for non-technical people. Like, let's not go through and try to explain every single detail, like, very specific. What happened? Why did it happen? How to proceed? Feature also an executive summary at the start to facilitate it further for non-technical decision makers, right? Like, people don't read. This is the sad reality. Let's make it super easy for them to understand all what we are recommending to do and how they can get done without even like moving from the first page, right? Like, let's make it super easy for them to not say no. This is it. Remember that you're not paid to spot all the SEO issues, but for achieving SEO goals by solving those that are actually harming the business at the end of the day, right? First thing, straightforward, extreme work. Also, you will tend to spend less time doing stuff that nobody will care about anyway. So yeah, good news. Second, develop a parallel SEO low-hanging fruit framework to deliver quick SEO wins. I know that this quick wins type of stuff is like, oh my God, no. This is the issue though. One of those main challenges and let's say arguments that many of our clients have is like, yes, I wish I could spend more in SEO, but it's so long-term nature. It's difficult for me to prioritize right now and put a lot of budget there because, yeah, we don't have time for that at the moment, and we don't have like the reliability of when this will be achieved anyway. It will be very long-term anyway. No. The reality is that there will tend to be this sort of like low-hanging fruit opportunities across all processes. They are there in most of them, right? But because we want to be good SEOs, we end up like doing full analysis, full research, full audit that literally takes weeks to finish just to send the first recommendations. And then stakeholders, business owners, our bosses, they get impatient and they get like, please send the stuff. Like, developers are waiting, they are not. Copywriters are waiting, they are not. But yes, I mean, this is the state of things. It doesn't give us credibility at the end of the day, right? So my proposal here is that we can advance faster if we have these parallel low-hanging fruit SEO opportunities assessment that we prepare beforehand, for which we have specific templates, resources that we can like just we will see, put a few things into place at the beginning for later on, spot all of this very visible, easy to achieve opportunities across most of the SEO processes and achieve results faster, deliver things before. This will also help to address some of the biggest SEO recommendations execution challenges, like mitigate client or decision maker impatience, show value of the SEO implementation faster, minimize concerns of complex implementations, also starting with the easiest one, and establish a good coordination base. Because later on, it will be very, very handy to have one, right? Especially with developers. So here are 3 things that I always try to spot in this SEO low-hanging fruit framework that I have set: improving the click-through rate of already ranking top-ranked pages, optimizing internal linking of almost best-ranking pages, and identifying search shifts and content decay to update and better rank with the content that we already have anyway. Very straightforward, easy to do stuff, and stuff that we can start already recommending on the second week, right away, if we already have the templates, right? This will tend to have also an important aggregate traffic impact fast, right? We don't need to wait for the 6 months to achieve all of this, to be executed, et cetera, et cetera. And what I do here is to set a validation checklist for common scenarios of low-hanging fruits actions, like, for example, to spot poor click-through rates in SERPs, like options, alternatives here, like, okay, it's non-relevant term for the sites, I don't want it, I don't care, I don't do anything with that, but if it is relevant, and the relevant page is ranking, then, well, potentially the title and the meta descriptions are not the best, let's recraft them. Some features, you're not making the most out of it, sadly not with FAQs anymore after today's Google announcement, but let's move on. More will come. But anyway, you see what I mean. Like, what it is important here is that you set resources, you create resources to spot this very, very easy, right? I have set a few, for example, Looker Studio dashboards like this that allows me to connect with the Google Search Console very, very quickly and spot these opportunities. You will have the resources there, and no worries, I will be sharing all this also in my Twitter at Aleyda later on, and this is not a tactic for you to follow me, but if you don't follow me, you can follow me now too. And then we can also create sheets workbooks to easily spot important meant-to-run pages, linking internal links to, just like this, right? So it's easy, but it can be even easier. Now we have tools like Ride or SEO testing that feature click-through rate underperformers. We integrate also our Google Search Console data, and this will be spotted right away. We don't need to do anything, literally. Or SEO testing content decay report to spot pages decreasing in clicks, needing a refresh too. Super easy, straightforward. We don't need weeks for this, literally. And it's about tackling this common existing scenario faster to achieve results sooner, as we can see here. I have talked about this much more in depth before, and you have here the deck about that, going through all of the resources, further scenarios, further opportunities, et cetera, if you want to take a look at it. But let's go to the third point, because we don't have time, and Will comes later, and we have all the party and the drinks, etc., right? Set an SEO quality framework, not only to catch, but also to prevent bugs that will hold our SEO execution back, right? And this is the sad reality. Again, another of my super non-scientific surveys that show how we pretty much spend too much time fixing bugs rather than building new stuff, which is how we achieve our actual goals at the end of the day, right? Unfortunately, we spend so much of our resources and time fixing, right? Like tech debt, content issues, like literally like misconfigurations. No, rather than improving and building new areas of contents, web structure, to connect better with our user search journey and maximize opportunities with them, right? This is why it's also critical to set an SEO quality framework when we develop our audits and provide recommendations, not only to only fix once what we have spot with our audits, but to prevent it from happening again. And this is not going to be achieved only by configuring SEO alerting systems, which I know that are pretty handy, and I'm going to be recommending a couple of them. I love them. If they are well configured, can be super handy. But in reality, if we're only catching SEO incidents fast, it's only going to be so handy at the end of the day. We need to prevent them, and for that we need education and validation to into the mix, right? So with a combination of education, validation, and monitoring is how we will be addressing this challenge to make our SEO execution faster and much more cost-effective. So just a few ideas of the elements to tackle here. It begins with a base of SEO education. When delivering the SEO recommendations, I love to develop webinars online. You don't need to do it even in person. Who does stuff like, let's only network in person. Then this evangelization and education, I do it online when I deliver SEO recommendations to establish the knowledge base and understanding with developers and content people, right? Like so you can see with product owners too, et cetera, the digital PR team, so they see the why behind the recommendations. They understand also why it is so important for the area, what is for them to achieve too with our work. And what is important here is that we don't blame them, of course, like please. I mean, it's this not a session to tell them like, oh, this all the terrible stuff that you have created until now, like, no, let's fix it now. We need to be very empathic at this point, of course, at least, and then to establish and build an understanding, a good relationship with them. And then we should strengthen the SEO quality framework with seamless SEO execution and a validation workflow. This is the thing. We all have checklists, and the issue with checklists is that they are not used. So let's use them. Again, once that we have set this understanding of why our SEO recommendations are so critical, so important, what can be achieved, et cetera, is that we'll be able to establish workflows for the different teams to use the checklist that we have agreed with them. And even better, if we have a little bit of capacity, let's integrate many of these validations in an automated way in our platforms, in the CMSs, whether with plugins, with ad hoc support, et cetera, it doesn't matter. What is important is there. And even more important, we need to agree. We need to have this agreement with them. What will happen whenever something is released, right? Before and after launching, okay, allow me to have each implementation for testing during at least 3 days, in which I will be auditing, validating, analyzing, and see that what we want to implement is actually there. Please make the stage environment the same as the production one. I mean, if you want me to test, let's test it what I will be able to see later on anyway, and the same after release. And what is important here is to establish and acknowledge and set what if a scenario. What if we end up releasing a bug? Oh, if it is a bug that will harm crawlability, indexability, core stuff, it needs to be reverted. This is a conversation that we cannot have until it happens. No, we need to have an agreement on that before. If it is a release that has a bug that doesn't affect this or that, and it only affects this type of element, no problem, it can be fixed in the next iteration of work, right? So this sort of, let's say, understanding is fundamental for us to have a healthy relationship, good communication, good coordination, and avoid issues further. Finally, it's also important to set a monitoring system to catch negative SEO configuration changes fast, and all the metrics, all the KPIs, all of the configurations that we know that matter, right? And for that, we have now real-time SEO crawlers like Content King, Little Warner, Garden. And what is important here is that we configure them well, right? Like now we can monitor everything. But of course, if we set alerts for every little metric that or element that can be misconfigured, we will be getting alerts every single day, and we will tend to overlook them every single day. And we don't want that, of course, so that is why it is critical to configure what matters for us in that particular context at the beginning well, and then, of course, to configure the tools so the alerts will be sent somewhere that won't be overlooked, right? Not like those Google Search Console alerts that nobody reads. And we only complain about the spam every month in Twitter, right? This is not the goal of that. So to make this happen, you can see we need to configure to be proactive, to be very mindful, to actually go into what matters here to set this high-quality framework that will avoid to not necessarily execute stuff as fast as we want and be as cost-efficient as we need. And again, you have a deck with the full thing here where you can check much more of these resources. Fourth, normalize forecasting based on different execution scenarios to kill ambiguity and set expectations. And I'm sorry that I will now become the least popular SEO ever now saying this, but stop saying it depends. Please. It's like, I mean, on one hand, like, let's take a look at this way. On one hand, we hate that our clients and decision makers prioritize other channels because they don't understand exactly what can be achieved in SEO. Like, they need this certainty that we cannot provide, right? But we continue saying it depends. So you see what I mean? It's paradoxical here. We need to stop saying it depends without at least adding the based on what, right? And tell them that it's based on the resources and flexibility that they give to us. That's especially important here, right? So we need to learn to develop forecasts and say, oh, when can we achieve these results? Well, if you execute my recommendations X, Y, and Z in the next month or in the next 2 months, then we will be able to achieve this in 6 months and this in a year. I have done this forecast here because all of these pages that already exist or that we will create that will target this query with this search volume, with this click-through rate, with this aggregate traffic will allow to achieve this. And if you don't do any of this, or if you do only one thing, we will be able to achieve only this. Because we only be able to rank for this group of queries that will be targeted by this group of pages. So yes, you give the right message that your ability to achieve stuff is there, but it will depend and is tied to their execution abilities and capacity and resources, the ones that they will give you. So it is fundamental to develop forecasts with tools, and this, I love that there are many more tools for this. Advanced web ranking for target queries. I love this tool because it makes it so easy, but you can also do it for free. Miracle, who spoke here before, she's amazing. She created this free resource that you can all leverage in Excel from scratch for free, like super easy, straightforward to develop these different scenarios. And you can use this to explain how results are tied to your capacity to execute this, why it is so fundamental. And if you don't want to execute anything, you cannot achieve anything too. So yeah, this will help to establish reasonable expectations that shows the importance of decision makers' support, right? Fifth, communicate non-execution trade-offs towards goals and the cost to get them with all the channels. I love this because honestly, it's like, oh my God, SEO is so expensive because all of this developers' time, changing the workflow of content people. Oh my God, like it's no. If they don't understand value by being shown of all what they can achieve, potentially they will understand the value when you show what they will be missing, right? So I love to include in every forecast the number of what it will cost to achieve this same traffic with paid search. It's like, I don't know, well, it depends where, right? Because this is what a developer earns here in Seattle or in San Francisco, but yeah, it can be what 10 developers earn in other areas of the world. But yes, it's not cheap to achieve the same type of traffic with paid search. So it shows how scalable, cost-effective SEO can be. Another thing that I like to do here is to show how behind in market share they will end up being if they don't execute this versus their competitors. Nothing better, showing how if competitors continue to grow, how they are doing already, and you can grab this data with so many third-party tools now, rankings data, indexes, etc. Yeah, this is how they will be growing and how far behind we will be left. So we better do something about it, right? 6, normalize SEO testing to validate hypotheses and win stakeholder support. If decision makers are still unsure despite all this for some reason, you can offer doing SEO tests or pilot projects to prove value much faster, very quickly, with a limited group of pages being impacted by these changes. And this is also a way to address obstacles from other areas. Oh, no, we don't want you to add content in our listings because conversion will be harmed. Speed will be harmed. Terrible. Well, let's test it, isn't it? Let's eliminate opinions and egos out of this equation. So I think that a lot of bureaucracy and political decisions can be completely eliminated with this. And again, we have now, thankfully, tools that are very straightforward to use for this. Again, SEO testing here is a fantastic tool that easily allows us to integrate with Google Search Console and run this test or write too. And you can prove the value of your recommendations by executing them faster in a small group of pages again that are very, very similar and show the impact right away to prioritize further. Then, of course, those hypotheses that you have developed that are not validated, as you thought, potentially you might not necessarily want to prioritize further, but yeah. It will serve well for most of your actions that you really need support on. Again, there's an example, okay, list more products on the listing pages, or list a description, add structured data, et cetera. This is like easy one of those low-hanging fruit type of scenarios that we have been all. And many times, unfortunately, because of the impact from a visibility standpoint, product standpoint, design, UX, et cetera, we get a lot of obstacles. And this is the best to prove that it's not only positive from an SEO standpoint, but also it won't harm all the metrics that matter for the product. And like this, we'll be able to achieve results. 7, and last, leverage technologies like AI, SEO to accelerate execution in bureaucratic scenarios to prove value and get buy-in, finally. So this is interesting because I also ask about how much are we using AI in SEO auditing activities or tasks. And it was funny because everybody loves to talk about AI, but nobody's actually using AI for non-content creation, right? Like only 26% said that they were already doing it. 53% said that not yet, but they plan to do it. And like 21%, shocking, they are denying reality, right? Like, yeah, I don't know. But yes, it's there, and we have all sort of been there, it seems, right? Already, we're already used to leverage AI tools or functionalities for content development. We have content tools like Phrase and many other tools, Surfer, et cetera, that we all use nowadays and pretty much accelerate the capacity, the productivity that we have when creating quality, well, research, content that is actually useful. It's expert-driven, of course, but there's much more potential with many other use cases, and here's a list of those extra use cases that were shared by those that did the survey. It's amazing what you can do, and I believe that we can already start leveraging these technologies to facilitate the implementations of those otherwise very difficult to execute actions from a technical SEO standpoint, especially. So yes, it's time to eliminate the burden of those legacy systems and technical debt. I love a couple of tools, for example, to do this. InLinks and WordLift. These two tools will easily facilitate the implementation of internal linking, product structured data, it's like so many different scenarios that you can be on content, of course. Real technical implementations like this. This is something that I already did, for example, with Learning SEO. If you see those links within the content of learningseo.io. This is implemented with InLinks. Actually, I didn't add those links manually. Like, yes. So this tool can really accelerate the implementations of those recommendations that can otherwise take a lot to implement just by adding a JavaScript, right? We all know that this is not the ideal way to do it, and yeah, we need to have some governance on the implementation. Otherwise, we will end up falling into the scenario of a few years ago, everybody implementing everything with Google Tag Manager. We don't want that, right? But it can help us to show the value quickly, right? To make things happen, to avoid the burden otherwise to try to make cases that can take a lot of time, et cetera, and even like this, not get the full buy-in. We can do the same if we have a little bit of more resources with SEO solutions that leverage CDN workers, right? So it's the same thing. I believe that all of these platforms and technologies are there for us to make the most out of it based on the opportunities of flexibilities or context to show that we can get stuff that we actually know our stuff, we can make things happen, that we can achieve a lot if we get the resources, right? And all of these are workarounds that if we are creative enough, we can leverage to make that happen and get the full buy-in that we deserve. And now you will tell me, oh, Aleyda, but this is beyond SEO auditing, and this will require that I change X, Y, Z, more effort, buzz approval, whatever. That's hard. Start little by little. And in reality, if we want different resources, we cannot expect to continue doing the same stuff, right? We want different results. We want better results. We already know the constraints that we have. We cannot expect to continue doing the same stuff and get different goals or results out of that, right? And if it is hard, perfect. Less people will do it. That's why we are leaders in our sectors, and we invest in ourselves, and we are proactive and are here, right? It will be better for those who like let the skin in the game and make things to happen and move forward to do it, right? It will be hard also only at the start too, and not bad at the end of the day if goals are achieved, because at the end of the day, it's all about goals and ROI, right? You can make it happen at the start of the process like this. After this, you will get the buy-in, you will show the value, and you will say, okay, like you have like from now on all the resources that you were requesting before, or with an already established website that, yes, you can continue growing if you get even more flexibility than the one that you had given before. And thank you very much. This has been a very strawberry type of experience with me, and finished right on time. Thank you very much.